Part 1. What if I told you that you have never truly chosen your romantic partners? That every person you've ever felt that magnetic, undeniable pull towards was not a choice, but an echo? A ghost from your own past, wearing a new face. We live in an age that celebrates choice as the ultimate expression of freedom. We meticulously curate our lives, our careers, our identities. And nowhere is this belief more cherished than in the realm of love. We swipe, we date, we select, convinced that we are the architects of our romantic destiny. But this is a profound illusion. We believe we are making conscious decisions based on attraction and compatibility, but we are, in fact, being directed by an invisible script, an ancient blueprint buried deep within our own psyche. This raises a deeply unsettling question. Why do so many of us find ourselves in a loop, dating the same person over and over, just in a different body? Why do our relationships, which begin with such dazzling promise, so often collapse into the same familiar patterns of pain? The answer is not found in modern dating advice, but in the work of a renegade psychologist who dared to map the hidden territories of the human soul. And what he found will change the way you see love and yourself forever. Part 2. There is a uniquely modern form of suffering, a quiet epidemic discussed in the hushed tones of late-night conversations and the anonymous confessionals of online forums. It is the feeling of being stuck in a dating loop. It's a carousel of familiar disappointments, a script you know by heart but feel powerless to stop performing. You meet someone new. The chemistry is electric. The connection feels fated. But then, slowly, the pattern emerges. The same issues, the same arguments, the same gnawing anxieties begin to surface. It might be the partner who is emotionally unavailable, a fortress of solitude you can never quite breach. It might be the commitment phobe, who keeps you hooked with just enough affection to give you hope, but never enough to give you peace. Or perhaps it's the relationship defined by pure chaos, intense highs followed by devastating lows, a constant state of emotional turbulence that you mistake for passion. The specifics vary, but the underlying dynamic is hauntingly consistent. These recurring relationships are often characterized by a toxic cocktail of manipulation, emotional control, a profound lack of support, and a steady drip of criticism that erodes your sense of self. You find yourself walking on eggshells, second-guessing your own reality, a phenomenon now widely known as gaslighting. This cycle is not just frustrating, it is soul-destroying. It hollows you out from the inside, leaving you with the deeply ingrained belief that you are somehow broken, unworthy of love, or fundamentally flawed. People caught in this loop often report feeling trapped, not just by their partner, but by their own patterns, as if some invisible force is compelling them to repeat their past mistakes. The conventional wisdom offers little solace. Friends might tell you it's just bad luck, or that you need to kiss a lot of frogs. Dating coaches might sell you strategies and scripts. But these explanations are tragically superficial. They fail to grasp the terrifying precision of the repetition. It's not random. It's a pattern. A more sophisticated psychological explanation points to what Sigmund Freud called the repetition compulsion. This is the unconscious tendency of the mind to recreate past events and dynamics, especially traumatic ones, in a desperate attempt to master them or achieve a different outcome. It's a paradoxical drive where the psyche seeks out what is familiar, even if that familiarity is a source of profound pain. What feels like love or chemistry to our adult mind might actually be our nervous system recognizing the emotional signature of our childhood. If your early life was defined by chaos, neglect, or conditional love, your brain learns to associate that instability with connection. It becomes your normal. This brings us to the precipice of a much deeper truth. The pattern is not an accident, and it is not merely a bad habit. It is a direct consequence of your earliest relational experiences, a ghost haunting your present choices. The unhealed wounds from your childhood do not simply disappear. They become the blueprint for your adult relationships. The first model of love we ever receive is from our caregivers. If that primary relationship was with a parent who was critical, emotionally absent, or abusive, the child's psyche learns to equate that very dynamic with love itself. As an adult, your conscious mind may yearn for a partner who is kind, stable, and present. But your unconscious mind, the true pilot of your attractions, is still navigating by that old, damaged map. It seeks out partners who exhibit the same traits as the parent who wounded you. Not out of a desire for more pain, but out of a tragic, misguided attempt to finally get it right this time. To finally earn the love from the person who couldn't give it. Only now they wear a different face. You are not choosing the wrong people. You are choosing what feels familiar to the deepest, most wounded part of you. The feeling of being stuck is real, because you are trapped in a story that was written for you long before you ever went on your first date. And to understand how to rewrite that story, we must turn to the one thinker who provided the key to unlock these unconscious prisons. Part 3. To navigate this treacherous inner landscape, we need a guide. Not a self-help guru, but an explorer of the soul. That guide is Carl Gustav Jung. Born in Switzerland in 1875, Jung was a physician and psychiatrist who began as Sigmund Freud's most promising protege, his heir apparent. But Jung could not remain in the shadow of his mentor. He broke with Freud because he believed that the human psyche was driven by something far deeper than repressed sexual desires. For Jung, the ultimate drive of human life was the quest for wholeness, a spiritual and psychological journey he called individuation. He wasn't just treating pathology, he was charting a path to self-realization. To do this, he created a new map of the mind, one that gives us the power to decode the mystery of our romantic entanglements. Jung's model of the psyche is like an iceberg. The small part visible above the water is the ego. This is our conscious mind, our sense of I, the center of our identity and our day-to-day awareness. It's the part of us that believes it's making the choices. Just below the surface lies the personal unconscious. This realm contains all of our own forgotten memories, repressed feelings, and subliminal perceptions. It is also home to what Jung called complexes, emotionally charged clusters of thoughts and images that orbit a central theme, like a mother complex or a father complex. These complexes can act like autonomous sub-personalities, influencing our behavior without our conscious consent. But Jung's most radical and profound discovery lies deeper still, in the vast, submerged base of the iceberg. He called it the collective unconscious. This is not personal. It is a second psychic system of a collective, universal, and impersonal nature, which is identical in all individuals. It is an inherited layer of the psyche, a psychic legacy passed down through generations, containing the accumulated experiences of our species. If the conscious mind is the software we run, the collective unconscious is the operating system we are born with. It is the matrix of all conscious thought, filled with what Jung termed archetypes. Archetypes are universal primordial images and patterns, innate predispositions that structure how we experience the world. They are the blueprints for the great human dramas, the hero, the great mother, the wise old man, the trickster. These figures populate our myths, religions, and fairy tales precisely because they are hardwired into our collective soul. And within this pantheon of archetypes, two are of supreme importance for our understanding of love and relationships: the Anima and the Animus. In Latin, anima means soul, and animus means spirit. For Jung, the anima is the unconscious feminine archetype within a man's psyche, and the animus is the unconscious masculine archetype within a woman's. It is crucial to understand that this is not about social gender roles. Jung was describing psychological energies. The anima corresponds to the principle of eros, which governs feeling, relatedness, intuition, and receptivity. The animus corresponds to the principle of logos, which governs logic, structure, assertiveness, and meaning. Each of us, regardless of our gender, contains our biological opposite within our unconscious psyche. The anima is a man's inner woman. The animus is a woman's inner man. They are our soul image, the inner partner that completes us and connects us to the vast depths of the collective unconscious. Here we arrive at the heart of the matter. This inner soul image is not formed in a vacuum. Its character is decisively shaped, or colored, by the first and most powerful representative of the opposite sex we encounter in our lives, our parent. A man's anima, his inner template for woman, is profoundly influenced by his relationship with his mother. A woman's animus, her inner template for man, is forged in the crucible of her relationship with her father. If a man's mother was nurturing and loving, his anima will tend to be positive, allowing him to relate to women with empathy and warmth. But if his mother was smothering, critical, or emotionally absent, his anima becomes negative and toxic, poisoning his relationships with moodiness and resentment. Similarly, a woman's relationship with her father shapes her animus. A good father helps her develop a positive animus, giving her a sense of inner authority and self-belief. An abusive or absent father creates a negative animus, one that manifests as rigid, critical opinions or a destructive inner voice that sabotages her relationships and her own creative power. This reveals that our relationship patterns are not just about us and our partner. They are a three-way or even four-way conversation between our conscious ego, our partner's ego, and the powerful unconscious figures of our anima and animus, which carry the unresolved business of our relationships with our parents. But Jung's insight goes even deeper. The anima and animus are not static entities. They are meant to develop and mature throughout our lives. Jungian thinkers have outlined stages of their development. For a man, the anima can evolve from Eve, the purely biological and instinctual woman, to Helen of Troy, the romantic and aesthetic ideal, to the Virgin Mary, a figure of spiritual devotion, and finally to Sophia, the embodiment of divine wisdom. A woman's animus can likewise mature from a figure of mere physical power, the athlete or muscle man, to a man of action or romance, to the professor or clergyman who is the bearer of the word and meaning, and finally, to a spiritual guide who connects her to the deepest meaning of her own life. This developmental ladder is the secret key. The problem is not that we have an anima or animus that we project. The problem is that for many of us, this inner figure is stuck on the lowest rungs of the ladder. It is undeveloped, primitive, and negative because of our early wounds. When we find ourselves in a toxic dating loop, we are not just projecting our anima or animus. We are projecting its most immature and wounded form onto our partners. The man who objectifies women is possessed by an infantile Eve anima. The woman who is perpetually drawn to bad boys who hurt her is projecting a primitive, destructive animus. The journey out of this loop, the path of individuation, is therefore not about eliminating this inner figure. It is about entering into a conscious relationship with it, helping it to heal and allowing it to grow up. It is the process of transforming our anima or animus from a puppet master that dooms us to repeat the past into a sacred bridge that leads us to our own soul. Part 4. Now, we bring these profound ideas out of the realm of theory and into the lived reality of our modern lives. The central mechanism that drives the toxic dating loop is projection. Jung stated that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Projection is an unconscious defense mechanism where we attribute our own unacceptable or unrecognized qualities onto someone else. We don't see people as they are. We see them as a screen upon which we project the hidden contents of our own psyche. And the most powerful projector of all is the Anima Animus. That intoxicating, head-over-heels feeling we call falling in love, is, from a Jungian perspective, the single greatest sign that a massive projection is underway. The feeling of love at first sight, the sense that this person completes you, the overwhelming fascination. These are not signs that you have found your soulmate. They are signs that you have found a perfect hook for the projection of your own soul image. You have fallen in love not with a person, but with a lost part of yourself that you see mirrored in them. As Jungian analyst Robert A. Johnson puts it, we fall in love with symbols, not with people. Let's trace the anatomy of the toxic loop with a concrete example to create the aha moment where it all clicks into place. Imagine a woman, let's call her Sarah, whose father was emotionally distant, critical, and unreliable. First, the wound. Sarah's childhood is marked by a profound father complex. Her animus, her inner masculine image, is wounded from the start. It is shaped by absence and longing. It becomes an unconscious blueprint defined by a desperate need for the strong, stable, validating male presence she never had. Second, the projection. As an adult, Sarah finds herself repeatedly and intensely attracted to men who are, just like her father, emotionally unavailable, aloof, and non-committal. Her conscious mind is baffled and hurt by this pattern, but her unconscious animus is in the driver's seat. It projects onto these men the idealized fantasy of the man she always needed her father to be. She doesn't see their distance as a red flag. She unconsciously interprets it as strength. She doesn't see their unavailability as a flaw. She sees it as a heroic challenge to be won. The intensity of her attraction is directly proportional to how well they fit this painful, familiar pattern. Third, the inevitable crash. The real man can never live up to the godlike qualities of the projected animus. He is not the stoic hero of her unconscious fantasy. He is simply an emotionally limited human being. When he inevitably acts in a way that confirms his emotional unavailability, because that is who he really is, the projection shatters. Fourth, the re-traumatization. The moment the projection shatters is excruciatingly painful. But it's crucial to understand that the pain she feels is not a new pain. It is the original, unhealed childhood wound of being abandoned and invalidated by her father, now reactivated with volcanic force. The current partner is not the primary source of the pain. He is the trigger for an old agony. Fifth, the loop. Sarah ends the relationship, heartbroken and convinced she has chosen wrongly yet again. But her wounded animus remains unchanged. Soon, she will encounter another man who provides a suitable hook for the very same projection, and the entire tragic play will begin anew. She is caught in a repetition compulsion, unconsciously restaging the original trauma in the present, hoping that this time she can make the story turn out differently and finally heal the past. This dynamic often leads to what Jung called possession, where the unconscious archetype completely overwhelms the conscious personality. A man possessed by a negative anima becomes irrational, moody, and hypersensitive. A woman possessed by a negative animus becomes rigidly opinionated, ruthlessly critical, and relentlessly argumentative. In the famous case study of Jack and Betty by Robert Johnson, a couple becomes trapped in a destructive mutual possession. Jack projects his idealized anima onto Betty, expecting her to be a source of perfect, unconditional emotional nourishment. Betty projects her idealized animus onto Jack, expecting him to be an invulnerable pillar of strength. When reality sets in, they descend into volatile cycles of rage and recrimination, each trying to force the other to conform to their impossible projection. This is where the shadow archetype also comes into play. The shadow is the dark side of our personality, containing all the traits we find unacceptable and disown in ourselves. We often project our shadow onto our partners. The things that infuriate us most about them are often reflections of our own unacknowledged darkness. The partner becomes a living mirror, showing us the parts of ourselves we refuse to own. This leads to a radical and empowering shift in perspective. The toxic partner is not the problem. They are a symptom. They are not the source of your pain. They are the messenger. They are a mirror sent by your own unconscious, reflecting back to you with painful clarity your unhealed parental wounds, your undeveloped anima or animus, and your disowned shadow. The agony of the relationship is the agony of your own fragmented self, crying out for integration. The question is no longer, why do I keep attracting these awful people? The real question, the one that holds the key to your freedom, is, what is this person trying to show me about myself? To stop blaming the messenger is the first step toward finally receiving the message. Part 5. If the prison of our romantic lives is built by unconscious projections, then the path to liberation does not lie in finding a better partner. The way out is not out there at all. The way out is in. The solution is to embark on the courageous journey that Carl Jung called individuation, the lifelong process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of our psyche to become the whole, authentic, and undivided individual we were always meant to be. As Jung famously said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This journey begins with a single, monumental act, withdrawing your projections. It means you must stop searching for your soul in the eyes of another and begin the sacred work of finding it within yourself. It is the realization that the god or goddess, the savior or demon you saw in your partner, was a reflection of a powerful force living inside you all along. This is not a journey of self-improvement, but of self-discovery. It is not about becoming a better person, but about becoming more fully yourself. And Jung provided us with the tools for this inner work. First, you must confront your shadow. Jung insisted, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This means courageously acknowledging and owning the parts of yourself you have rejected and projected onto others. A simple yet profound practice is to keep a journal. Write down everything that irritates, angers, or judges you about other people, especially your romantic partners. Then ask the difficult question, where does this quality live in me? This is how you begin to reclaim your own darkness, and in doing so, you take away its power to unconsciously run your life. Second, you must learn to dialogue with your anima or animus. Instead of allowing this powerful archetype to control you through projections, you must turn inward and build a conscious relationship with it. The primary technique for this is what Jung called active imagination. This is not mere daydreaming. It is a structured meditation where you invite this inner figure to speak with you. You can do this by writing a dialogue in your journal as if you were writing a script. Ask your anima or animus, what do you want? What do you fear? What wound do you carry? Listen for the spontaneous answers that arise from your unconscious. By personifying this energy and engaging with it consciously, you begin the process of healing it and helping it mature from a source of chaos into a source of wisdom and creativity. Finally, listen to your dreams. For Jung, dreams are the purest communication from the unconscious. The men and women who appear in your dreams, especially those who evoke strong emotion, are often direct personifications of your anima or animus. They are showing you their current state. Is your inner figure wounded, angry, trapped, or wise? Your dreams are a nightly report on the progress of your inner integration. When you commit to this inner work, something miraculous happens. The frantic search for someone to complete you ceases. True, mature love only becomes possible when you have achieved this sacred union within yourself. When you are no longer projecting, you can finally see a partner for who they truly are. A separate, whole, and imperfect human being, just like you. And it is only then that a real relationship can begin. As Jung described it, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The transformation is not about losing yourself in another, but about two whole individuals catalyzing an even deeper becoming in one another. The painful loops you have endured were not a curse. They were a desperate call from your own soul, begging you to come home. The goal of love was never to find your other half, but to do the courageous work of realizing you were whole all along. Let us end with Jung's most powerful guidance for this journey, a thought to carry with you long after this video ends. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. The journey to authentic love begins and ends with the journey into you.